St. Lucia. This is Openmike, and we are back to the fourth segment of our program. We want now to touch on the effects of the cruise ship business on our market. As you know, these cruise lines are getting better, larger, and cheaper all the time. And it is a tough sell, because when somebody can go and see 5 or 6 islands, remember one thing, St. Lucians, the cruise lines pay very little or no taxes. All their stuff is loaded duty-free in Miami or wherever they start from. The owners don't pay income tax because their ships are registered in Panama and the different areas that are tax-free. So our governments need to take note of what is going on, because to the best of my knowledge, I remember having several discussions with Mr. Stewart in the last 5 or 6 years, and he keeps indicating that the taxes are killing the business, and hence the reason why he's been able to make Grenada, Barbados, and Antigua understand what is going on. The taxes are killing us, and if we become non-competitive, that means you have no industry. If you have no industry, you have no employment. So it's a domino effect, and I wish that the people who feel that hoteliers are consistently getting away with murder, they are totally wrong, because a hotel, in my view, is nothing more than an employment agency. When I see the amount of money that goes to wages before you can pay your bills, because you have to pay your people first, hence the reason why you have seen 3 or 4 failures already in St. Lucia. So I'm going to ask Feolla now. I think you have taken a trip on one of those boats. So would you just highlight to us, give us your experience, the difference between a hotel and a cruise ship?
Yeah, in all fairness, Dad, I mean, we see them come into St. Lucia, and you see how big they are. And they're massive. You know, they're overshadowing the port of Castries. You know, it looks like a floating shopping mall. You know, they're offering cinema and fine dining and restaurants. And, you know, when I see my fellow Barbadians on a cruise ship when they come visit me for lunch, I said, what are you doing on a cruise? And they said, well, it's cheaper to take a cruise than to fly on Liat, have baggage allowance restrictions, and they get to go to at least 6 islands in the week. And so in all fairness, the cruises are very good at distressing their inventory at the last minute. So you can pick up a cruise for $600–700. That's $100 a day, all you can eat, all you can sleep, and no airfare involved. And it brings you right back to your home, and no weight restrictions on the travel. But the ships themselves, I've done one, as you say, I've done a couple, but in all fairness, it's not my cup of tea. But I had to do it just to experience what it was about. Why are people going? They're very loyal. They're very good at keeping in touch with their clients. They give them special offers. Some people do 2 cruises back to back. You know, last year we met some people in Puerto Rico. They were on shore and they were getting ready to go back the same week, the same day. And it's just that the offers are so good. They don't have to think, they don't have to plan, you know, and as you said, they're getting very luxurious, but it's price. It's exceptionally competitive. So your consumer has a choice, particularly for extended families, kids entertainment, elderly family members who don't want to move around as much. They get the shows. So they get everything in one go.
If you were a Minister of Tourism today, and you were faced with the fact that the cruise ships are, in fact, one of the greatest competitors for hotels, what action would you consider?
That's a very rich question, given that, you know, my brother was once a Minister of Tourism. He's very au courant with the cruise industry. I'm not as familiar, but in all fairness, you can't ignore it. It's not going to go away, and it's getting bigger, and it's probably one of the fastest growing industries.
Then can I ask you another question? As a result of what is going on, can you see the cruise lines eventually hurting the hotels to an extent that we may have to sort of, what's the word should I use now? Downsides in any way?
Well, you know, my fellow hoteliers here in St. Lucia have always said, you know, they have the advantage. Something goes wrong on this island, they can just change ports. We as a hotelier, we can't move.
That's true.
We're here. You know, they don't pay the electricity costs. They don't have to pay any of the challenges that we go through locally. So they'll always be at an advantage. They pay pittance. They have all foreigners working on those ships. You know, they're mostly from Eastern Europe or somewhere like that. But, you know, it's a dog's world in there. But, you know, your average person needs to make a living. Yeah. For us as a hotelier, what will we have to do to compete with that? You know, we have to just embrace our team, our product, and offer our guests something dynamic, something unique, and to keep them coming back. I mean, you've got to reach out, you've got to wine and dine them, you've got to raise the bar every time.
Yeah.
You know?
Tell me something. When a guest comes to a hotel, I mean, there's some, very few of them who want to just sit and read for a week or so, but a lot of them would like to go on tours, okay? Would you say that our tours are too high? And what are the quality of our tours, say St. Lucia? Have you seen an improvement both in what they offer and the cost?
I mean, obviously, since my school days, you know, I've been bringing people and friends home for a holiday, taking them out to see the sights. And that what's led me into the tourism business is now bringing travel agents to St. Lucia, showing them the sights. And now as a hotelier, we're hosting these guests. And some of them are first-timers, some of them are seasoned travelers. I always say we cater to the savvy traveler because we're an affordable hotel that will give you the opportunity to go out and explore. That was the whole idea of not being on the beach and making the price affordable so that you will spend and generate. We're St. Lucians and we want to really bring that dollar back to St. Lucia and make it spend. There's some hoteliers that, you know, when you're spending that kind of money a day, you don't want to put your hand in your pocket again. So for us, you know, our tour desk is a critical part of our department. The tours, whether it be catamarans or boat trips, you know, there is something that we have to instill in that guest and that consumer that they must do. The quality of the tours, you got to keep it dynamic, you got to keep it fresh, you got to keep it good, you got to keep it clean. The price point, you know, the 20% markup days, they're probably gone. You know, you have your guy on the beach, you have your guy on his own boat. You know, these hoteliers who are beachfront know those challenges. You have people investing in their own product now, offering their own tours. You can only make so much for the room. You now have to make the money on the extra money on tours and make them spend. And that's where you get it. So in all fairness, most of my hotel partners are quite good at it. Some of them don't leave the product. Our clientele that come tend to be more active. They'll either come for carnival, they'll come for jazz, they'll come for hiking, trekking, the yacht, the ARC is in town now. We got a lot of their families that come in. So in all fairness, the cricket, Beau Séjour is nearby. That draws a lot of people. So the kind of clients that we have at Coco Palm are really clients that want to get out and go about. You have 2 shopping malls on our doorstep. Yeah. You know, we see the supermarket bags coming in every day. So we know they're shopping, but they're very price conscious.
Yeah. What I've noticed is that the people who are coming down now, as you said, they are double checking everything they're doing price-wise. Now, what bothers me slightly is the fact that somebody going on a tour, say in Antigua, for instance, and coming down and doing another tour here, they compare the prices. And what I've said before, when you have certain taxes in one island and none on the other, then the cruise directors say, okay, fine, you know, St. Lucia is good for catamarans or good for waterfalls, and they look at their prices. And, you know, the fact that they're putting on the VAT on most of those items here. People look at we trying to rip them off, and you know, and it is a very worrying situation because if the revenue continues to drop, we will have no alternative but to lay off staff, and that's going to be bad. So I don't know what governments have to understand at the end of the day, that the money is better in the hands of the people who are providing the sustainable jobs versus the airy-fairy jobs. And How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, ground handlers and local representation companies have always been a very big part of travel and tourism. In the last 10 years, they've had a tremendous challenge to compete with the internet, because now you're finding people are coming down, they're posting on their web pages or email, I did this tour, here's a taxi driver's number, here's a tour direct. And then you have the suppliers who are also competing on their own websites, offering better sales than the price that the man who had a package were doing.
Yeah.
So when you say, you know, the airy fairies, in all fairness, there's no tangible secret right now of what will be a sure thing as a job to secure it. Because the consumer simply wants the lowest price.
Yeah.
He has no loyalty to anybody
But his pocket.
but his pocket.
But now, based on what you're saying and the fact that, you know, many countries now are not giving visas to come there. So we're really on an island, we're stuck. And you have how many thousand people leaving school every year. It is a very worrying situation. What can be done, in your view, to address a situation where we can get a message to the young people? Hey, there are no jobs out there. You have to create your own. Like, for instance, yesterday I got a guy, I think I introduced him to you, an IT guy who came in, and he's doing his own business. And he is making some progress, but what he's telling me is the fact that the same thing you just said, that the people he was dealing with keep driving his price down. And now he has to close his office, and he has about 8 or 9 or 10 guys working from home and feeding him with the information so they can get. Now, if it works, it's one thing. But you know, when a man doesn't have an environment for working, when he has to work out of his bedroom or something like that, it then changes the whole dynamics. So, you know, it is a very serious situation. It's a very serious situation. And that is why the youth right now are clamoring for help. Please help me. And you know, you have seen there's a lot of depression going on in St. Lucia. As a result, when a man wakes up in the morning and he can't have a coffee, he can't have a sandwich, he can't buy the right clothes to wear, we have serious problems on our hand. And from what you're telling me there, I see it's getting worse, because the jobs are just closing in and closing in and closing in.
Well, in all fairness, you know, we live in a market that is changing. You know, it is discouraging for the youth. I've heard a lot of feedback this week on various out radio and TV shows about the youth and the reports that we're getting. But, you know, I'm very keen in particular of what are we training in our tourism sector in particular, because that's the field that I'm in. And while I was in Antigua last week, I went to the tourism school there to see what are they teaching. And when we're hiring at Coco Palm, we're really looking for the skills. We're looking for the dedication, the skills, language skills in particular are really missing in this island. You know, it's not part of the curriculum for everybody. You know, all our guests are coming from abroad. The German, French, Spanish. We try to make sure we have people that can speak those languages in our hotel. But in all fairness, you know, the young man you spoke of, he was in the British Army for a little while. He learned discipline. And I think in all fairness, that's a key word. Our young people are looking at making fast money. Yeah. There's nothing fast. You know, you met some successful people in your day, and the young people will always say, how can I be like you? And they say, well, you know, it's a funny thing. The harder I work, the more successful I am, so the luckier I get. Yeah. But it simply boils down to hard work. There's no secret to it. You know, I can't say it's been an easy street. Yeah. As much as people think we've had it easy, you know, we put our time. Yeah. And that's what it takes. It takes discipline.
Yeah. I mean, take a person like you. I talk to you on a regular basis, and I don't think people understand the number of hours you spend on the internet. And that has to be very hard for you, because you know, the thing is, you're not just on the internet talking foolishness. You're trying to create contracts, and these contracts, if they're successful, they can in turn help St. Lucia. people like you now are a dying breed, because as you rightly said, that everybody wants quick money, and it just doesn't happen.
They won't put the time in.
And they don't want to start. They want to start at the top.
Correct.
And you cannot start at the top. You know, now, for instance, you know, I was at a seminar a couple of weeks ago, and they had a group from London who came down and said that the Chamber of Commerce in London wanted to help St. Lucia and to work with them. And I made a couple of suggestions, and one person in the group said, because I said, you know, the banana business is not dead. There is scope. He said, oh, well, I can tell you that young people today are not going to go in the hot sun to plant bananas. And I said, well, is the sun hotter in Ecuador than in St. Lucia? Because Ecuador is selling bananas to Trinidad. Trinidad is next door to us, you know. So we better get smart and understand that, you know, nobody's going to help us. And in all fairness, the government can only do so much. But the government has to come out and explain to the people what is going on. Now, while on that subject, an area which I feel can in fact help the economy is that of a good, strong university. You've been to Grenada with me. You've seen St. George's. They have 6,000 students there plus. And I honestly feel that if Grenada can keep for almost 30 years, Little Dominica has 1,500. Antigua, you saw it there yourself, magnificent, okay, 800 or 900 students. St. Kitts has the same thing here. What is stopping us? Right now, I've already spoken to the chairman of the Republic Bank of Trinidad. I've spoken to the Taiwan Embassy, where we can get together and put up a proper university, like 6,000-7,000 students, and you bring proper professors from all over. I mean, Taiwan is a very well-educated country. They can bring those people in here. And if we can start that off, but we have to move quickly, because, you know, we can't keep waiting and procrastinating, you know, because, you know, for instance, I just read in the papers this morning, for instance, that the Prime Minister said he's going to get $14 million US from Venezuela to help the nice and proud program. But you see, again, that's taking money and putting it into unsustainable jobs. That money should have really gone into a project that will be sustainable. And I don't know how to explain again those things, because you see, governments need to work in tandem with business people, and not only just business, people who have been successful, people who have worked out the method that things last. Up to now, I mean, in the last, for instance, say 2 to 3 months, the number of people that have come to my office to go into businesses, and I've had to take my time and explain that these things are not sustainable, you know, and especially they find some soft touch where they can just get the money, put it in and walk away, you know. And then the other killing factor are the banking institutions. Yeah, I mean, I went to one bank to assist a company recently, and with proper cash collateral, they are charging 16% interest. What are the interest rates in London today?
You're lucky to get 0.2% on any money that you have.
Yeah, and
to
if you take a loan, borrow.
To buy a house, 4%.
4%. Yeah. Now, how can we survive? We're already disadvantaged with our education skills, okay? And now we have the financial burden of having to borrow money at 16%. You cannot succeed. You cannot succeed. And something has to be done, hence the reason why I'm told that the Republic Bank is seriously thinking of coming into St. Lucia and to put some money, because between St. Lucia, Grenada, and St. Vincent, you actually have, they can find, the Republic Bank can in fact have a strong influence over those 3 islands, because they're already in Grenada, and because they are here partially, and St. Lucia controls St. Vincent, that probably can go forward in a very positive fashion. And I'm told they have some 2.5 billion EC dollars that they could make available if they have certain controls and with the people in St. Lucia. So that's another side of it. The other area that we wanted to discuss, I think, was
Product. The product.
yeah, the tourism plans. Now, for instance, recently, as we know, that Grenada has just received a new Sandals hotel, and and I read recently that as a result of that, their tourism went up 18% in Grenada. Now, Sandals is in St. Lucia, they're in Jamaica, they're in Antigua, they're all about the place here. But if they can offer a product way above ours, I mean, St. Lucia will still get the people because Grenada doesn't have the airlift that we have. But then if people have a choice, and then, in the tourism industry, a lot of it is word of mouth. I've been down to Grenada, it's excellent, and you should go and try it. So if you lose 5 or 4% this year and another 4% next year, that's not good for us, because I understand Barbados is going to be opening up very soon, and then, that's another problem here. Whereas we had the opportunity to put down beaches on the causeway and that did not go on.
Well, to be honest, in all fairness, the product has to stay fresh and it has to be current. And your consumer is always going to be comparing you with other destinations, whether it be the Maldives or Asia or the States, Mexico, DR. Sandals, we knew from the reps that I've seen on the road, Sandals had been talking about these sea standing over the sea, the stilts, over the water suites for the last 3 years in St. Lucia, and soon come. Yeah. And then they didn't get whatever permission they needed, and they went on to Grenada. They did an awesome job from what I can see. They'll be opening up in January in Barbados. From what I see there, the Barbadian hoteliers are nervous because they're going to be raising the benchmark so much in Barbados, which is a product that has been able to get their rate, and they've not really had any competition apart from, say, Sandy Lane a few years ago. But it's a new market for him because he's not as strong in the UK, so that will help. But with Grenada, having a brand like Sandals with you, he's been able to bring the lift. So they have increased their flights from Condor out of Germany. Our BA and Virgin flights will go on to Grenada, so they've gotten the extra lift. They've got the American flights, JFK flights, Delta flights. That's going to make a difference. So I asked my fellow Grenadian hoteliers, how has the impact been? They said business has never been better. But, that's a rejuvenation of the product. Yeah. And as for St. Lucia's product, we had L'Esport that did a big facelift a few years ago. It's a unique product. It has its own market. Any meeting I go to in the UK, they'll tell you their top seller in St. Lucia is always L'Esport. I speak to my fellow Barnard friends and I ask them how do they do it. And Craig will tell you, well, I've been in the business 30 years. And he's been working at his business. And in all fairness, he offers a very unique product. So that's always helped St. Lucia. Sandals is very strong in the US, so that helps us. Beyond Chastanet and Jade and Sugar Beach probably get a lot of American business. They're very different products. The smaller hotels, the Calabash, the Ladeiras of the world, a very elite market, a very high-end market, Hotel Chocolat, a very unique product to its own area. But, we don't have the chains. We don't have a Hyatt, we don't have a Marriott, we don't have a Ritz, we don't have a Hilton. Unfortunately, these bigger carriers want that name, and if we don't have that name, it hurts.
Yeah, it is. And yet, the Hyatt started here in St. Lucia. It didn't work out, unfortunately. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention to you was the fact that this new hotel that has been taking place at Smugglers. What do you know about those people?
Well, I know they have new owners. Yeah. They're backed by a tour operator out of Canada, a Mexican-based company. But in all fairness, they came to the market. They've now sent out a notice that they'll be closing as of the 1st of May because they're looking to double their product, How long they'll be closed, I don't know. But Smugglers and Club St. Lucia before that has always been a price point of getting to St. Lucia. Now that's going to hurt. The Morgan Bays of the world may benefit, Coconut Bay may benefit because family, cheap and cheerful on the beach, kind of all-inclusive product. Price, okay? But that's an enormous volume of seats that you're pulling from the market. So the government has no control over them closing. So you're going to lose those 300 rooms times 3 people, 900 people a night, and you have no control of that. So is that going to impact the flights and the operators and their revenue? It boils down to revenue.
Yeah. And then what happens that once it impacts on the flights, then the price goes up because the hotel has to suffer. And you see, this is why going back to there's this airline called Seabourn. I've said repeatedly that there should be a Seabourn between St. Lucia and Puerto Rico. And also, I don't know really what is happening with Liat, but we cannot survive on 2 flights to Barbados and 2. That's madness, because Caribbean Airlines, which comes here daily, wants desperate to fly between Barbados and St. Lucia, but Barbados does not want to give them permission to land. Now, it's understandable that what it's all about, because even though they say they're working for Liat, but by the same token, they're affecting St. Lucia. And I think Dr. Anthony needs to get tough and do something about it, because, here George Charles Airport is suffering because the economy is not there, economies of scale. So you've got to get that whole thing going. I see, for instance, they're now putting up all these restaurants on the beach there. Are ready for whom? Because if you have no flights at all, I don't see the point of doing that, That's like putting the cart before the horse.
Well, we really are missing that Puerto Rico flight.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to go to Puerto Rico next weekend for the St. Lucia National Day weekend, you can't get a seat.
Yeah.
You can't get a seat. The only way you
got to go to Miami and all, which is crazy.
You got the daily flight to Miami. That's limited.
Just before the United Workers' Party were booted out of power, your brother was talking about the Copa Airlines, and the SLP administration made some gestures that they were pursuing that. And what has happened since then to Copa? This is a fantastic airline. It's only an hour and a half flight to Trinidad or to St. Lucia.
My friend in Haiti, she's a GSA for Copa, and she operates it from Port-au-Prince to Copa to Panama. And the Haitians that go there in droves for shopping, it's better than Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It's better than Miami. Yeah. And I don't know what the holdup has been, but in all fairness, if we could get a Copa into St. Lucia, even going into Panama, it avoids the Miami connection.
Correct, because you don't need the visa. Yeah. So, St. Lucia Tourist Board, Prime Minister, powers that be, please take note of what is going on. Now, we just want to focus a bit now on the SLHTA, the SLDB, their budgets, and their can you guys throw some light on that?
Having worked at SLTB, it was a great foundation for starting my career in tourism, and it gives me a greater appreciation for the challenges that they face. My argument has always been the revenue generated by tourism has never been put back in any percentage consistency to product and market the product. And some of the girls, I know them very well, Atlin in the UK, Ingrid and Lynn in the US and different Canadian markets. They work really hard, and they don't get the credit that they deserve. But in all fairness, they're not given the funds to do it. Their hands are tied. They're limited. But they brought in their annual FAM trips out of the US, which has really been productive and helpful. But they need to have a better budget. You can't compete in this day and age on the shoestring that they've been given to work with.
Now, there are several should I say, announcements from the Ministry of Tourism that tourism was up 6% last year. But many people don't seem to be seeing it, even though they say it's there. What is the reason for that?
Well, you have to go by what numbers they're basing it on. What was the foundation, where were the growth from? In the key markets in the UK, it may not have been up as much as that, but in all fairness, up is up, however you look at it. Was it regional market? Was it cruise passengers that were up? I haven't studied it in some time, but in all fairness, You know, are you counting heads or you're counting revenue? You know, and that's always been the challenge. Yeah, you want heads coming in, but you also want the spend. You know, if it's cruise passengers are on the up, that's not going to help your Pepsi and postcard pocketbook person.
Yeah.
You know, one market in Antigua, 6 days later you're in a St. Lucia market. A market's a market.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to get. So they ain't going to buy anything. So
Right.
going back to your original question of our young people and the product that we offer, how indigenous are we making our product special and unique and pricing it so that it is attractive? That's a
Yeah.
ball game all of itself.
Yes, on the last program here, the revenue generating forecast.
Yeah, in all fairness, you know, going back to counting dollars,
Yes.
you want dollars spent, so the product has to give you something to buy. You know, you've got the marina hubbing right now because of all the art going on,
Yes.
so it's vibrant. You
Yeah.
saw last night, Friday night, it's very active. And then you have the forecast of where we're going. We're looking at our rates for the next contracting year. And given the utility costs are going up on island,
Yeah.
you know, we have to burden that here. We have satellite. We can't pass that on to the consumer. So the price is of everything, but in all fairness, the forecast is tough. You know, the challenge has always been, what are we going to do to compete on that market? And again, we're facing that internet because the consumer is shopping around and they want a price match.
Yeah.
So in all fairness, what you're going to find is that we have to make our price and our product attractive to that consumer so they can choose us. Christmas, January, February, 60% of the bookings will come through during that time, okay? In the UK market, you have sales that happen after Christmas, and the next 62 months, you can say, if we don't secure that business for the next 12 to 16 months, that's make or break.
Wow. Well, St. Lucia, it has been a very interesting program. There's a lot more to discuss, but time is against us. So this is Openmike saying goodbye until next Sunday at the same time. Thank you.